Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, and welcome back. Today's Daf Yomi is Yevamos Kuftes Zayin. We are on the fourth line from the top of the Amud. Says the Gemara, Hu Gita, there was a story about a get, the Ishtakach Basura, which was found lying in the street of the town Sura. Sura and Naharda were neighbors. So this was found in Sura Uksiv Behachi. And the text of the get stated as follows. In every get we have the Mokaim in which the get was written. We have the name of the fellow who was divorcing his wife. Okay, so in this get, we see as follows. Besura Masa, in the town of Sura, so this was the location where it was written, right? You write the present location as you're writing the get. Okay, we're writing this in Sura, the city Sura. Anna, so this is myself, the husband. What is my name? Anan Barchia Naharda. Anan Barchia from Naharda. So now I am writing a get to my wife. We're in Sura here. Patris Vesarchis, this is a lashon of disengagement, divorcing. Who am I divorcing? Ploinis Intasi. This and this woman, my wife. They found the get. And they thought they knew who the husband was. But perhaps this is not really his wife, because maybe this fellow, Anan Barchia from Naharda, is really not the fellow we're thinking of. Maybe there's a clone. Maybe there's a double. There's a duplicate with the same name. So what did they do? Ubat Rabbanon verified Misura bar Naharda. They made a search from Sura all the way to Naharda, and they came up with nobody else. They didn't come up with another fellow of the same name. Levar, except for one fellow. His name was Levar me Onan Barchia Michigra. So he had another title to his name. Onan Barchia Michigra, that was his name. Dahava ben Naharda, who was actually located in Naharda. Okay, so perhaps he's the other fellow. He's the other candidate. Okay, v'osu sahadi. Then two Edom come along and they say, no, he's out. Why? V'omer, they tell us, on that day ki'ichta of Haugita, on which that get was written, right? Aleph Shvat. On that day, this fellow, Onan Barchia Mechigra Gabon Hava, he was with us in Naharda. Not where the get was written. The get was written in Surah. He was with us in Naharda. It's like Edom Zayman. Imanu Yism. He could not have possibly been in Surah where the get was written, so he's not a possible candidate. Okay, so that's out. So the get must have been written by the other fellow, Onan, right? We had two people, Onan Barchia, two people with the same name. It must have been the other Onan Barchia, and this confirms that indeed he is the writer of the get, or the husband who instructed the writers to write the get. Okay, we give it to his wife, we're done. No, not so fast. Even according to my point of view, I hold that you never know. Maybe there's somebody with the same name, right? Like Abai tells us yesterday. But here it's different. Here we know there's nobody else. The Edom tell us the Ben Arda Hava, this other fellow, was in Arda at the time, so he's not a possible candidate. Maiba Basura, what's he doing in Surah? I mean, he could not have been in Surah if he was in Arda at that same moment. So he's out of the question. Removes any possibility of him being involved. Okay. Amar Rava says just the opposite. Even according to my shita, that typically we're not choshish about some other possibilities, about some other fellow with the same name, unless we know there is someone. We don't just raise that suspicion. But here it's different. Because we know for a fact there is another individual with the same name. Now, although he was in Naharda on that day, okay, Dilma Begamla Parcha Azal, maybe he took a Pony Express flight, a gamal which flies, so to speak, a fast-running camel. And Azal, he went to Surah on that very day and gave the get. So the Edom say, well, he was in Arda on Sunday. Well, maybe by Sunday afternoon he was in Surah. So maybe it was really this fellow who gave the get. Inami, or you can say Bikpitza, by jumping. Rashi says, using Kabbalistic powers, Al Yidei Shem. He used Hashem's name to propel him, to bring him from one town to the other in a hurry, in a snap. Inami, or another option can be Mili Masar. A couple of days before that Sunday, he actually instructed the Sefer to write a get for him on Sunday in Surah. K'da'am or Rav L'Safri, as Rav would tell the Seifrim, v'chein amar lu Rav Huna L'Safri, likewise Rav Huna would instruct the Seifrim. When you write a get in one town, you record the name of that town, irrespective of where you received instruction. So even though you received instruction in Los Angeles, but you're writing it in New York, you write New York in the get. Shili, when you're sitting in Shili writing a get, ksuba b'shili. That's what you should write in the get. This get was written in Shili. Even though you were instructed to write this shtar in Hini, it's irrelevant. You write the current location. Likewise, when you're finding yourself writing a get in Hini, what do you write in the shtar? Ksuvu b'hini. That's what you write. Even though the instructions came in while you were in Shili. Says Rava. You never know. Maybe that other Anan Bar Chia Michigra was the one who commissioned the get. He gave instructions prior to that day. He never left Narda. He never traveled to Surah. He met the Sefer one day. He says, write me a shtar. Sefer decided to write the shtar in Surah, and that's why in the shtar you have the word Surah. There's no indication as to the whereabouts of the husband at that very moment. So maybe the shtar really belongs to that husband. You never know. Let's go back to that story. This fellow deposited some seeds. He says, look, where are my sesame seeds? Aren't they in that barrel? About 10 pounds of them, which I gave you a couple of days. He says, no, you took yours. These are other seeds. Shaila yesterday whether we assume these are the seeds because he guessed the right amount. Or shall we say perhaps you have to prove it, and you can't prove it. There are no signs, there's no simon in the seeds. These are seeds. And although the barrel is still filled with seeds, maybe these are different seeds. Maybe he cleared out your seeds. Tosfos actually asked the kasha yesterday. He says, we have in the Gemara about Metzia that when a person finds a Metzia, and a fellow walks over and says, it was in such and such amount, that's a good simon. Right? So why over here, when he says, look, these are 10 pounds of seeds, and it turns out that he was right, why can't this be a raya that it says? So this says over there in Bava Metzia, we're speaking that it's not a standard measure. It says, look, 2.5 pounds of whatever, and we know it's his. But here, we're speaking about, some standardized amounts. It was like a 5-pound package, a 10-pound package. It says derech b'nei adam latzniya b'midazu, some sort of standard shiur, which is commonly used. In which case, it's not really a raya that it's yours. In any case, we had a shaila yesterday. Can the fellow say, "I cleared out your seeds; these are other seeds," or shall we assume the content is one and the same? Rav Yemar Amar Lechashinon. We're not going to be chayshesh that he cleared out his seeds. These are his shimshimi. And Ravina Amar Chashinon. We are going to be chayshesh that perhaps he switched the content. In fact, that's the halacha. Mishnah says, typically an isha is not to say, look, my husband passed away. However, there's any reason to believe that she's over-exaggerating, jumping to conclusions, making assumptions, then we cannot take her story as fact. One example is, there's a milchama out there, there's warfare, there's violence, and perhaps she's not going to be exacting. And the way she relates the event, she jumped to conclusions, my husband surely passed away, and she just assumes that he died. Or, as the Mishnah says, there's ktata beinay lebeinah, there's infighting, there's discord, there's disharmony between the husband and wife, in which case we're concerned that perhaps she's motivated by her lack of interest to be with his husband, and therefore she's purporting that he died. Now, how do we describe, how do we quantify this concept of discord, disarray, disharmony between him and her? For instance, she turns to her husband and she says, "Divorce me, I'm uninterested in you." That's an indication of disharmony, and that is an example of ketata. Asks the Gemara, don't take it too far. Kulu nami amru hachi. It's typical when people lose their temper. They might express themselves this way. Don't take it too seriously. It's not something which necessarily indicates extremities. Says the Gemara, Ela beimeres lebala girashtani. Oh, so ketata is describing the following. She tells her husband, "You know what? You divorced me. It's over. You don't have a bigger ketata than that." Asks the Gemara, one second. If that is what she is claiming, then we have to believe her. V'lehemna, we trust her that she got divorced. Why? Midde Rav Amnuna. Ta'amar Rav Amnuna. Isha she'amar lebala gerashtani ne'menes. And Isha turns to her husband. You divorced me. We believe her. Why? Chazaka. It's an assumption. It's established that ein Isha ma'iza ponea b'fnei bala. If she's really married and not divorced, she would never have the guts to state this fact in front of her husband. You divorced me, if it's not true. So if she's saying, you divorced me, we have to believe her. Answers the Gemara, no, not exactly. Beimeres gerashtani b'pnei ploni ploni. She isn't simply claiming divorce. You divorced me in front of Reuven and Shimon. So she's adding some more details. V'she'ilna v'she'linhu. And we went and we asked Reuven and Shimon, is it true? V'amar, they tell us, what are you talking about? Never happened. Lo yayu dvar ma'olam. Never happened. So now we know that she's not divorced. But the fact that she goes to such great lengths and she claims that she was divorced, that's a strong indication of lack of harmony between this couple. And now, when she comes and tells us, you know what, unfortunately, I have to tell you about my husband's death, we can't believe her story. Why not? My time at the ketata, why can't we trust her? We have two pshat. Rav Chanina Amar Mishum de Meshakar. She'll outright lie, she'll mislead us. She dislikes him, she wants to get away from him, she'll do anything. Out of desperation. Rav Simi Barashi Amar, not necessarily lie, but Mishum de Amar b'dedami. You know what, sometimes she'll jump to conclusions. She'll make assumptions that he died. Perhaps she won't deliberately mislead us, but she'll take rumor as fact. She'll jump to conclusions because she, in any case, she doesn't really want him. Let's go to Rashi, 8 lines from the bottom. My time of the ketata, if there's a situation of ketata, disharmony, and she comes and says, Meis Bali, we don't trust. Why? First pshat, the meshakra, merayv sinna, because of her dislike to him, miskavenes le'eser atzma alav. Listen to this. She's willing to make herself usher on him. She's willing to misstate the facts, misrepresent the truth. He died, even though she knows that she has no basis for that. Now she'll interact with somebody else, and now when he returns, she can't go back to him. That's the halacha. Great, that's exactly what I was trying to accomplish. That's one tzad. The second pshat is the amra b'dedami. Perhaps she's not going to deliberately mislead us, but she might just jump to conclusions because, in any case, she doesn't have much interest in staying on with him. So when she's faced with a sakana, kol makom sakana, sharasa, ein nesen is data leima Hashem alei meis, v'lei nase. If she knows her husband was involved in an attack or some other precarious situation, she's not gonna hope for the best. Perhaps he's still alive, She doesn't want him to be alive. The hoil v'sanyali, because she dislikes him, loy daika kulihai, she won't necessarily investigate the matter properly. She'll just jump to conclusions, and she'll give us assumptions. My binayu, says the Gemara on the bottom line. My binayu, what's the difference between the first pshat, concerned about lying, the second pshat, concerned about assumptions? What's the difference? The difference is like this. The argil hu ketata. Suppose he was the one. The man was the one who instigated, who initiated this disharmony. Oh, so some of Farshim explain like this. If he's the one that initiated it, well, then she doesn't really dislike him so much. There isn't that sinner necessarily, in which case she isn't necessarily going to resort to such drastic measures as actually lying and misstating the truth. But assumptions, but the dummy, yeah. Since they're not really living in harmony, she might just jump to conclusions. Oh, he probably died. He probably didn't survive, in which case we can't believe her story. Here comes a shayla. Suppose there's ktata between them, and this time, instead of the isha coming, it's an aid, a single aid. Mahu, can we trust him? He says his husband died. Is that enough? My time with the echad mehemen. Why do we say that typically we trust an aid echad? Because if it's something that can be verified and publicized, why would he lie? Misstate the facts. If around the corner we're going to figure out the truth. Here as well, he wouldn't misstate the facts, and we can believe his story. Or perhaps, why do we trust a single aid? Because it's based on the fact that we assume that the Isha will investigate the matter further. As opposed to the case of a Ketata, where she is not motivated to do so. She's not necessarily going to invest much effort into investigating the matter further, and therefore, who says we can believe the Edecha? Teku, we leave it unresolved. According to Rabbi Yehuda, Anisha comes and says, Meis Bali. There's no issue of Ketata or Melchama. A normal case. Meis Bali. Tanakama says, we believe her. We believe her. She's going to be Daiko Minsaba, etc., etc. Rabbi Yehuda maintains the only time we can trust her is if she's exhibiting signs of mourning. She's coming with her torn clothing, crying away. Now we see it's legitimate. Tanya, we have a brayso where Amrle Rabbi Yehuda the Chacham responded to Lidvarecha, according to your position. Pikachas tinase, a wise woman who knows how to dress up and to present herself as a mourner, she'll get the pass. She'll be allowed to marry Shoita Leitinase, but an Isha who isn't necessarily so smart, who doesn't know how to package things nicely, will not get that heter. Ella, rather, Achazu v'Achazutinase, whether she's showing signs of Avelus or not, we take her statement as fact. Meis Bali, go ahead and get married. Ahi de'as lebeidina, the Rabbi Yehuda. There was an Isha who came to the Bezdin of Rabbi Yehuda, or some learn Rabbi Yehuda, this Tana. Amri lo, so the Chachamim who saw her coming in, they told her, look, before Rabbi Yehuda sees you, Savti Balach, go start crying and eulogizing your departed husband. Kiri Manech, tear your clothing, Sisri Maziach, disrupt your hair. This way, he'll accept your account as fact and he'll let you remarry. You have to show signs of mourning. Asks the Gemara, Alfua, they were teaching us Shikra, untruth. Why are they misleading the Av Bezdin? Answers the Gemara, Inuk Rabbanon Svirlu, because they held like the Rabbanon, the Rabbim. Then in any case, we believe the Isha. Amri, so therefore they told her, Tavadach, you change your clothing and present yourself this way, so that Yehuda should be mad to you, because they held like the Rabbanon, which is the accepted halach. Continues the Mishnah. When do we know that an Isha's account is considered fact? We believe in Isha who says Meis Bali. It's only under very specific, defined circumstances. She's coming back from the grain harvest. And the harvest took place in that area, so close by. So the story can be verified. Exactly. In an exact replicate replica of this story that actually happened. The Gemara will tell us the story, and the Chachamim modeled the heter after that story. So we need all those components. Coming back from the Kotzer, where it's middle of the summer and sun's beating down, there are snakes there, and it's plausible that perhaps he was bitten by a snake and it's nearby, so she would be hesitant to misstate facts. If it's something that's nearby, it can be verified. And that's the only time where Mata the Isha, when she says Meis Bali. Very specific, very restrictive. Amr and Beis Shammai responded, nothing to it. It's a general, all-out heter. Achasabah, not kosser, whether she's returning from the grain harvest, v'achasabah, not zaysim from the olive harvest, v'achasabah, not batzer from the grape harvesting, v'achasabah, medina, whether it's from a different city, it doesn't matter. Lo dibru chachamim b'kotzer ala b'heva. When the chachamim spoke about the grain story, that was just an example of what happened, but anything that's even similar to that would work. Why are you limiting it to dafka, that type of case? The rationale is that the Ishas believe because of the severe consequences that she can face if in fact it's untrue. So believe her, whether it's grapes, olives, or grain. So this argument of Beis Shammai was convincing. Chazru Beis Hillel, Lahoyres give it Beis Shammai, so Beis Hillel was convinced, and they agreed with Beis Shammai that it doesn't have to be the grain harvest. Says Rashi 4 lines from the top. The halacha was modeled after a very specific story, which the Gemara will tell us. The Chacham only allowed this halacha to be implemented if it's exactly the same as that story. She had davar korev lanu, something which took place in close proximity, in which case she's discouraged from misstating the facts. But something which took place far away, who's to say that she is to be trusted? Beis Shammai says no. It so happens to be the Masa Shahaya Kachaya. That's exactly how the story took place, true, but we apply it to all types of similar situations. V'uadin l'chol mekaymis. Says the Gemara. Tanya, we learned in a Brayso where we elaborate on this debate between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. So Beis Hillel will start by saying the only heter is if she's coming back from a very specific event, from the Kotzer, and it's close by, K'masa Shaya. Amr lehem Beis Shammai Beis Hillel, l'devreichem, according to you, ainly a l'ktsir chitim. That only applies to the harvesting of wheat, right? Because that was the story. It took place, it happened with the ktsir chitim. What about ktsir sa'irim minayin? If it's barley, what happens there? Ve'ainli l'kotzer. Okay, and only harvesting grain. What about baitzer? Grapes, maisik, olives, goider, dates, oider, figs, menayin. What about those types of situations? How can you differentiate? What kind of rationale could you give to differentiate? Ella masa shaya bekatzer. True, the incident took place with katzer, but really it's applicable to all similar situations. So just like you agree with us that the material that's being harvested doesn't really affect the halacha, chanami here as well when it comes to the question of location. Masa shaya ba'isa medina. True, that story took place locally. But really, it would be applied even if it took place out of town. Beis Hillel will respond to the second argument by saying, look, ba'isa medina the shchichi inshi. If it took place locally, so people are traveling back and forth, Mirsa's son shall be terrified, shall be discouraged from misstating the facts, because it can be easily verified. But when Medina acheres, but if it's something which took place in a different town, where not necessarily will people travel back and forth, communication is not really so efficient. Loy Mirsa's, who's to say that shall be worried about misstating the facts. So the ne'emanus isn't as strong. We can easily explain the difference between local and long distance. Beis Shammai respond to that as well. Hachanami, even if it took place at a distance, shchichi shayrasa, we know there are caravans, there are groups traveling back and forth, and certainly should be careful when stating facts that she claims took place even at a different location. Okay, so that's the end of the discussion. Actually, in the Mishnah we find that Beis Hillel were moida to Beis Shammai. Okay, as promised, Ma Masa Shahaya. What was the story that we were referring to? My Masa Shahaya. Shilfi Katsir Chitin Hayu. Shilfi, Rashi says, is the Seif, the end of the Ktsir Chitin, the end of the wheat harvest season. Hayu. 10 men went to cut down some chitim. One fellow was bitten by a snake, and he passed away. And his wife comes, informs the bezdin. In fact, they sent out some inspectors, and it turned out that it was right, as she said. At that moment, Chazal decided, yes, apparently an Isha can be trusted. Isha she'amra meis bali tinaseh. She says, my husband passed away. We allow her to be remarried. Meis bali tisyavim, or in the case of Yibum, this enables the Yibum. And Tosfos says, of course, this is based on the concept of Iguna. We don't want an Isha to be tied down. We trust her even if it's just the Isha herself. We assume she's telling us the truth. Continues the Gemara. So initially there was a machlekes, right? Beis Hillel only allowed in a very specific, defined circumstance, which virtually mirrored and replicated that story where the heter was actually issued. Right? It had to be a local incident. It had to be the Ktsir Chitim. And Tosfos brings the Yerushalmi. What's so unique about the time of Katsir? I mean, Beis Shammai, disputed that. They said, what do you mean? What's the difference between this and that? Grapes, figs. So the Yerushalmi says because the time of Katsir, the grain harvesting season, is smack in the middle of the heat of summer, and the Chamo is Kedachas B'Rosh Shel Adam. There's, intense sunlight, intense heat, and the snakes are attracted to that, and it makes sense that he was bitten by a snake. So there's some advantage, so to speak, to the Ktsir Chitim. In any case, that was their initial position. It has to be a very specific type of case. And Beis Shammai disagreed. They said it's a universal heter, irrespective of the Chitim, Sa'irim, whether it's this town or the other. Although the heter, the story where the heter was established, indeed took place under these circumstances, with these conditions, but we can stretch it, we can apply it elsewhere as well. We don't have to be limited to this specific case. Says the Gemara, interestingly enough, we find a similar discussion elsewhere, where one Shita maintains that it applies to a very specific case which mirrors a Masa Shaya, and the other Shita says, look, it's all conceptual. If the idea is to be found elsewhere, then it applies elsewhere as well. You don't have to be restricted and limited to that specific case. The Gemara will attempt to sort of set up these two discussions side by side and have them match each other. Says the Gemara, name, or perhaps we can say Rabbi Chananya ben Akavya, V'Rabbanan, the machlekes between these two, beplukta de Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel Kamiflagi, are having the same or a similar machlekes to Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. The Sanya. The Brisa says like this: the person should be careful not to carry the paraduma water, or even the ashes of the paraduma, should not transport them through the Jordan River on a boat, or even stand on one side of the river and toss the material over to the other side, over the water. Point is, it can't go over water. We're concerned about tuma. Shouldn't just have them float over the water. And you can't carry this material while he's riding. On an animal who's running through the water, or he's hitching a ride on his friend's back, his friend who is walking through the water. Because this is similar to transporting over water, because he's not really firmly grounded. It's like it's as if he's in a ship, right? Unless his feet are actually grounded, right? Because then it's not reminiscent of being shipped, right? If he's grounded, if he's actually boots on the ground, then there's no gzeira. Aval ma'avirim ala gesher. But if he's actually walking on a bridge, even if it's over water, again, here it's grounded, so then it works. The Gemara soon will tell us there was a story with the Mechatas, which was being transported on a little ship over the Jordan River, and they found some tumah stuck to the bottom of the ship. So, as a result of that story, the Chachamim decided to be very, very careful with safeguarding of the Mechatas. And according to the Tanakama, Shittas Chachamim, anything which even slightly resembles that incident would be asr. So bringing it over a body of water, when you're not firmly grounded, whether you're floating, whether you're on a ship, whether you're hitching a rock, whether you're tossing it in the air, it's close enough to that story, and therefore we say, you know what? Don't do it. Don't do it. Echad Yarden, ve'echad Shan Naharis, whether we're speaking about the actual Jordan River where the incident took place, or any other body of water. So we broaden our concerns. We stretch the Gzera to other similar circumstances. That's the Tanakama. Rabbi Chanani ben Akiva Amar, ben Akiva Amar Lecha. Sorry, Rabbi Chananya ben Akiva Omer. He disagrees. He says no. Lo yamru ela yarden ubesfina k'masa shaya. I maintain that true, there's a Gzera, but only if it's a repeat of that incident. On the Jordan River, on a ship. Exactly as that story happened. So according to him, the whole idea is to raise awareness. Raise awareness to the need to properly safeguard the paraduma, the mechatas, and the efrachatas. So it's enough to apply the Gzera in that very specific case. That will generate interest. And that will say, well, people will say, 1 second, why that interesting restriction? You can't take it on a ship, on the... Oh, I remember that story. And this will arouse awareness, arouse interest, and will ensure the proper safeguarding of the mechatas. You don't have to stretch the Gzera further. Tanakama maintains, once Chachamim make a Gzera, it has to be uniform, it has to make sense. Right? Otherwise it just doesn't hold. You have to make a universal Gzera. Give it a very clear-cut geder, a clear-cut criteria. So anything over water would be us. Says the Gemara, it seems that machlekes, it matches up with our machlekes. Leimer Rabbanan the Amr ki Beis Shammai. Rabbanan will say that we stretch the Gzera. Similar to Beis Shammai, who say we stretch the heter. Here it's a Isser, here it's a heter. But it's the same idea. We're not limited to that very specific incident. We take the idea, we take the concept, and we stretch it. So that's one side. Rabbi Chanani ben Akiva, who limits the Gzera to that very specific incident. The Amr ki Beis Hillel. Perhaps he follows Beis Hillel. When it comes to the heter of the Isha, they only allow in a very specific, defined, limited circumstance, which mirrors that specific story. Says the Gemara, no connection. Not necessarily. Rabbanan can say like this. Anon damrinan av ki Beis Hillel. You know what? Even though by the mechatas we broaden the Gzera, but when it comes to the heter of the Isha, we'll follow Beis Hillel. Ad kan like Amar Beis Hillel Hasam. You know why Beis Hillel are restrictive in their heter? And they say, you know what? We only allow it if it's a local incident. She claims that he passed away around the corner. There's a reason for that. Elam Shem de Mirsis. Because she's afraid to mislead us. You can easily verify the truth. But Makim Karev Mirsis. If it's close by, that svara of Mirsis, that fear exists. But Makim Rachag Le Mirsis. But if it's far away, there's no svara of Mirsis. She's not afraid to perhaps misrepresent the truth. So it makes perfect sense. We leave her if it's a local incident, but not long distance. When it comes to the mechatas, what's the difference? Mali Yardin, Mali Shar Naharis. What difference does it make if it's this body of water, that body of water? If the concern is tumma beneath the ship, so there's no room for differentiation. On the other hand, says the Gemara, Rabbi Chanani ben Akiva, Amalach will tell you, even though when it came to the Gzera of the mechatas, I was very limited and restrictive in its application, only the ship on the Yarden, but when it comes to the Isha, who's testifying about her husband's death, I can go with Beis Shammai, who broadened the heter. Ad kan lekan Beis Shammai hasam. Perhaps over there Beis Shammai say we broaden it because ela mishum de'i daiko mitzvah. The whole point is that we trust her because we know she'll verify the facts as true. She's not going to take a chance and run into all kinds of trouble. Mali makim karev, mali macham rachik. If that's the rationale behind the heter, then what's the difference where it took place? As opposed to the meichatas. Hacha mishum masa shahaya. The reason why we initiated the Gzera to begin with was because of a very specific story. B'yardin and b'sfina dava masa gazerabana. Therefore, if it's the same exact circumstance, the yardin and the sfina, fine. We make the Gzera. B'shar nahar, it's lo yava masa, like gazerabana, as opposed to the other bodies of water which never experienced this mishap. There's no reason to make a Gzera. The point is we're trying to raise awareness. As long as we make it one isser, even if though it's very limited, very specific, that's enough to broadcast that message, to bring out the point. Look, be very careful with meichatas. So bottom line is, the two machlekes are unrelated. Okay, as promised, what was the story with the meichatas? There was a story of this fellow, shayimaver meichatas. He was transporting the meichatos, ve'efrachatas, b'yardin u'b'sfina, sitting on a little ship, running over the Jordan River. V'nimtza kazayis p'nameis, and they discovered a kazayis of a mace, tuma, tochiv b'karkis shel sfina, stuck to the bottom of the sfina. And Rashi says that the kli holding the meichatas hovered over the tuma and became tamei. At that moment they declared, lo yisada meichatas, efrachatas, a person should never transport these items via avirim, and transport them b'yardin and b'sfina, on a ship in the Jordan River. So, what did we learn today? We started with the story of a get that was found in the town of Surah. So it had the location, Surah, it had the name of the fellow, Anan Barchia Naharda. And they actually located another fellow with a similar name from the town of Naharda. Says Abaye, what do you mean? No problem. The Eidim are telling us that that fellow, the other fellow, was in Naharda on that day. So he couldn't have been the husband. Rava says just the opposite. Maybe he took a Gamla Parcha, Pony Express, and got here on the same day, or he was a Kabbalist. He used the Shem HaMefarish. He was there in the morning, here in the afternoon, or maybe he told the Sefer a couple of days ago to write the Shtar, and they happened to write it today in Surah. He didn't have to be here at that moment. Mishnah says, if there's a ketata between the man and the woman, then she can't be trusted. When she says Meis Bali, what is ketata? She claims that he divorced her. In the presence of Reuven and Shimon, it turns out to be untrue. Well, certainly what is true is that there's a big ketata between them. One svara says she's going to lie to get away from him. One svara says she's speaking assumptions. The nafkamina would be if he initiated the ketata, she wouldn't lie, but she would jump to conclusions. We had a shaila regarding Eid Echad in the case of ketata. Can we trust him? We left it unresolved. Rabbi Yehuda maintains the Isha has to present herself as a avela to show that she's really mourning her husband's passing, and that gives it legitimacy. Chachamim disagree. We had that story where the Chachamim advised the Isha to appear to be legitimate this way. The Av Bezdin, Rabbi Yehuda, would give her the heter. Initially, Beis Hillel maintained that the heter is only in a case which lends to credence. She comes back from the Katzer, it's Bais Medina. Beis Hillel disagree. If you're going to limit it to the Katzer, maybe only Ktsir Chitim. What about the Sa'irim? What about the Kaitzer and the Baitzer? It doesn't have to mirror that same story that happened, as long as in concept you can apply the heter, that's okay. And Beis Hillel will chayzer and followed Beis Shammai. We concluded with a similar discussion regarding the Gzeira of the Meichatos, which was not meant to be transported over the Yarden in a Sfina. As per that story, the question is, how broad of a Gzeira is it? The Gemara figured the two sugyas are comparable, and then the Gemara said, no, let's leave each one in its own corner, not necessarily are they connected. All the best to you, and have much, much hatzlacha.